Not for lack of wanting to, like just I've been so freaking busy, man.
Yeah.
And it's work gets in the way, and because I'm gone like several days a week, it just gets hard. So my hopes are to unfortunately my uncle passed away, and he left me a ton of audio video equipment. So I'm and a lot of my free time when I'm home is trying to figure out how to use it because it's all like high end like production equipment.
Nice.
Dude, I'm using this light. I've been playing with this light in front of me right now. It's like a production studio light, like trying to get and the camera. Well, that's why I canceled last time. I was like, well, I got this new camera. I can try and figure out how. I still can't figure that damn camera out. Yeah, so it's just been a lot of trying to figure things out. But people have reached out to me and they're like, dude, what's going on with the podcast? And I'm like, I didn't even know really a whole lot of people were watching it. So I'm like, I guess I got to go back to start making some episodes.
Absolutely.
Dude, this live thing always gets what's happening here. So we might be live, we might not. I don't know. Riverside's very funny about going live on Facebook, but we'll just get going. Either way, it's recording, so I can always just repost it. So, all right. So, everybody who's out there, welcome back to another episode of The Jungle. Today, hold on. This thing's being goofy. Sorry. I don't, it's not showing. There we go. All right, everybody, we're back. Sorry for some technical difficulties. I'm trying to get things worked out. Yeah, so sorry we haven't been around for a while. As I was just explaining to Nikole, I get tied up with work, and not that that's an excuse, but people have kind of reached out and been like, hey, where you been? So I figured I needed to get back at it. I actually ghosted Nikole. It was about 2 weeks ago. We were supposed to do an episode then, and I just had stuff going on. So we had to postpone it till today, but happily Nikole is here with me today. For those of you that have been watching the episodes, Nikole came on. She's the author of 50 Shades of Truth, and she is currently working on her next book, title TBD. We are going to talk about that a little bit today. And then I had Nikole back on for a specific reason because anybody that watched the former or the last episode with her, we kind of dove into a lot of family issues and talking about how we rebuilt our family. But on the other side of that, there is the whole marriage proponent. And her and I had just a little bit of conversation back and forth. And I asked her, I said, do you want to come back on and we'll kind of talk about how to rebuild a broken marriage / relationship? How she did it, how I did it. For those of you that obviously know my story, my wife and I went through some things about 3 years ago. So yeah, I wanted to bring Nikole back on, kind of talk to her. We had a really good episode the last time she was on. So Nikole, say hello to everybody.
Hello, everyone. Glad to be back.
Oh, I'm glad to have you back. The back and forth on the last episode you and I did, it was great, to be honest with you. A lot of times you get people on and they don't necessarily want to listen. It's a lot of talking. Not that that's a shot at anybody, but all the podcasts I listen to, you see a lot of podcasts where it's just one person talking. It's one-sided. So the back and forth with you was really great last time. I think we had a real productive and positive conversation. So I wanted to have you back.
Yeah.
So before we get started, anybody that wants to hear Nikole's story, and it's a great one, her episode is back. I'll post it at the end of this podcast or this video on YouTube. To anybody listening, obviously like and subscribe. It obviously pushes us up in the rankings. This is not a monetized podcast, so we're just trying to get the message out there. But moving forward, again, anybody that wants to hear her story, I'll post it at the end of the video. Why don't you just lead into what this new book is about real quick, and then we'll get into the other stuff, because that was part of the reason I wanted to have you on. I know you have not determined the title yet, but that's okay. Once you do, I can go back in and put a link on this video. So
absolutely. So I'm working on a book. It's going to be very similar to my first book, which was called 50 Shades of Truth, which is my real life testimony of overcoming a life of methamphetamine addiction, pornography addiction, just sexually just loose living, and all the things that come with that instant gratification lifestyle. And what I have found, and what I wrote about in my book, was I felt as if culture was cultivating something inside of me that was not there when I was born. I never struggled with same-sex attraction or anything like that. And in the methamphetamine world, the drug world, the porn world, the club world, all of that, I ended up finding myself swinging both sides of the fence, being bisexual. And then when my husband and I remarried 19 years ago, and I got clean, I've been off methamphetamine now 19 years, focused, moving forward, just positive lifestyle. My husband went to prison for methamphetamine, got out 19 years ago, and God helped me walk out of that lifestyle. We led Celebrate Recovery for 6 or 7 years, but over the past 19 years, just God's really revealed some of the things that are going on with our youth, our adolescents, in the schools, in the media. People sometimes don't realize, I got clean in 2006. Facebook wasn't around. iPhones weren't around. That's just been in the past, 15 to 19 years. And that has played a major role on our youth and adolescents. There's a book that I will be quoting a lot, and it is called The Anxious Generation. And so it talks about the two things that we've done that have kind of destroyed our young children is we stopped letting them play outside because we were so fearful and so afraid of it. And then we handed them a phone and acted as if there was no dangers on the internet. And there is. And so my book will talk about the dangers of the things that we're watching on TV, streaming shows, music. Like one of the new music songs that's a top hit is called Anxiety. Like, I don't want my 8-year-old grandchild running around singing my anxiety. Blessings and
No, because
curses are in our mouths.
yeah, and it's a I'm very there's a what's the word I'm looking for? There's a theory out there, and I truly believe in it, that what comes out of your mouth, what you put out into the universe, you get that back.
Yeah.
So if you're sitting there talking about my anxiety, and I got to be honest, I think this is a great book. I actually I did not read your 50 Shades of Truth, not gonna lie, but I do want to read this book because this topic is something that is I think more people need to be aware of. You have too many couch parents that, like you said, hand their
Yeah.
kids their iPad and they're like, "Be gone! You're a nuisance. I don't want to deal with you." And I think that's, and I'm glad that you said, it's funny because Flynn, I also got 2 little air rifles, like they're pellet guns from my uncle, and I've been telling
Okay.
Flynn, like, hey, get off your phone, go outside, go walk around in the woods. Like, I don't want to hear there's a coyote. You can shoot at it now. Like, I don't want to hear there's, you know what I mean? You got a weapon. Like, go
Yeah.
play in the woods. But that's a huge thing too that I told my daughter was good about it when she was home. Christopher, not so much, but like I would push Nevaeh, go out in the woods, go explore, go. That's all I did when I was a kid, man. That's all I
Yeah.
did. So I'm actually looking forward to your book because I
I'm
think that's
so I'm so blessed. I talk about it in my first book, but when my husband got out of prison 19 years ago and we relocated to where he paroled out to, Kankakee, Illinois, um, my 3 boys were there as I'm getting sober, 10, 9, and 5. And, we went from them listening to, like, JJ, my middle son, he could sing word for word the lyrics to Eminem. And I
yeah
would let him because that I was the cool partying parent.
yeah
And I, so it was a huge shift for even my kids. And what my husband would do is he was like, okay, we're going to read a book for 30 minutes and we're going to exercise for 30 minutes before we play any video games. And we would find that by sending them outside to play, it wasn't just 30 minutes. A lot of times
yeah
they're out there for 2, 3, 4 hours after playing, all afternoon basketball. Then they come in. or in the winter when it was cold, they would work together and share their game time so they could play. And this is, again, 15, 16, 17 years ago, but it's never too late. Like, you don't just have to give your kids an iPad or an iPhone. Um, you can play games while you're driving, read books, talk. That's the best time to have communication with them. And so I was very blessed that my husband, because I didn't know when I got clean the dangers of the phone. It's only in retrospect, me looking
Yeah.
back, seeing the dangers of it. And I remember, 12 years ago when the smartphones were first coming out, we got our kids the sliders because we didn't want them to be able to watch videos digitized on their phone,
Yeah.
concerned about, the porn and the pictures and the sexting and all the other stuff. And I'm not saying we did it, perfect, but I know that we were far more intentional than many people we know in our sphere of influence, but lots of Christians too. They act like there's no
Yeah.
dangers letting their kids watch Netflix. Like there's nothing that's going to speak to them and potentially taint right from wrong and
Well,
blur that.
it's the lie that big tech has put out there, like, and that's one of those things where technology's moving forward, and they're just like, you either adapt to it or you get left behind. Um, and it's a big lie. Because like you said, your kids could go outside and play for hours at a time. They wouldn't even realize they were outside playing. Like you don't. A lot of people don't understand. You do not need this technology. A lot of it's beneficial, but there's
Yeah.
always a downside. It's a double-edged sword. So
Well, and my husband and I, so we're listening to this book on Audible, and then I'm reading it, and I have it for the highlights so I can quote because he's got so many stats that are fantastic. But as we were listening to it, it was talking about how parents hover now when they watch their young kids play, their helicopter parents standing
yeah,
over them at the playground instead of letting kids use communication skills and learn how to work things out themselves. So we were in Omaha about a month ago with our 8-year-old grandson, and we sat back and we just let him play for 2 hours. He didn't know not one single kid at the park. He had 10 friends by the time we were leaving. They worked it out. Come on, let's work together. Let's build it. Let's make this work. Let's figure it out. And my husband and I just sat back, and you could see a few parents that were helicoptering, but for the most part, you could tell that they were like, this is what kids need.
yeah.
This is
No,
absolutely, and the book even explained it, and I never thought about it. Think about where we were 40 years ago when we got a flat tire on our bike. We figured it out. If a chain
that's what
came
I
off,
was.
we
Yeah,
figured it out.
that's what
Now
I
a
was just
kid,
sitting here thinking. We figured it out with no cell phone, with no, you know what I mean? It
no
was
parent, no
no
supervision.
parent. You're out
Yeah.
there by yourself. Figure it out.
But now if a kid gets a flat tire or the chain comes off, they call their parents, and their
my
parents have been to help them, and we're not helping. We're
my
not
son,
raising leaders.
right? My son is hilarious. He'll have the easiest question that you could look up on Google that you can Google, and he
Okay.
calls me and he's like, "So what's?" He was like, "How long do I cook chicken for?" And I'm like, "Dude, bro, you are 21 years old. What are we doing here? Figure it
I have a
out."
son like that as well. He calls me constantly wanting to know what to, and I'm like,
And
my
yeah,
mind
and
does
I tell
not
him,
have.
I'm like, God
Just
forbid,
Google
like,
it.
yeah, God forbid the end of the world ever come and like your Google's out and you have to navigate to get to us. Like, you're done for, bro.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So the gist of the book, it's for mostly teenage girls, college age girls, that pass about, I've got some things on sexuality and purity. I do have a chapter on the whole transgender thing. You and I had talked about that. I've got a couple of stories of girls detransitioning and just like, for the love of the Lord, like while you are underage and your frontal cortex is not fully
Yeah.
developed, don't cut your boobs off. Like you don't
I
need to
saw,
take testosterone and potentially, which like, I mean, tons of things are happening right now thanks to Trump being in office.
yeah,
Like, and people don't realize that, but in 2006 or 2007, there was one transgender clinic in America. A few years ago, there was over 300.
Yeah.
300 youth transgender, like not just, hey, I'm 25 and I've been struggling with this for 10 years, help me. Oh, maybe I want to be a dinosaur, maybe I want to be a boy. Like your 8-year-old doesn't know.
Well, there was another statistic. I listen to PBD. I don't know if you know who that is, Patrick Bet
I know.
David. His podcast, it's very good. He gets both
Okay.
sides. He's got a guy on the left on there, and then he's got a guy that's pretty far right on there, and they all
Pastor
kind of have
who?
Patrick Bet David.
Oh, Patrick.
I think it's called the PBD podcast or Valuetainment or something, but they just
Okay.
cover current events and things that are going on. But I was listening to him yesterday. They had Nancy Mace. She's a congresswoman from Minnesota, and she is very against the mutilation of children, obviously, which anybody that's not can just shut this off right now. If you're one of my friends on here, beat feet. Um, but she's very outspoken in congressional hearings about, this needs to stop this. And Patrick Bet David pulled a stat, and he said I want to say it was I was mistaken. She's in South Carolina. She's not in Minnesota. Before somebody comes for me.
Minnesota's pretty Democrat, but I was going to say
Yeah.
that's awesome if they got.
No, she's South Carolina. When I
Okay.
was thinking somebody else in Minnesota, but there was a statistic that he stated yesterday that one of the states, and I'm not going to quote it because I don't know, the the school districts in the state have allotted for at this point 13 different genders. And so he's very much against this as well. But he states this quote. He says, "What do we need 13 different genders for?" And one of Nancy Mace's big videos are she confronts Tim Walz and she asks him. She says, "Can you please tell me the definition of a woman?" And he sits there like blindsided, like, "Duh, I don't, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, what do you mean?" And I don't know. I think that's one of the biggest issues that needs addressed. I saw a photo on X. Obviously, X is uncensored. It popped up in my feed. It was a male that had just had, or it was a female that just had surgery done below,
Uh-huh.
fully nude, and it's mutilation at its worst. Like I literally, I couldn't help but look at it
Yeah.
because it was nothing but stitches like down the pelvis and down,
Yeah.
and I'm like sitting here looking at it and I'm like, what kind of trauma do you have that is what you felt you needed to do to your body? Like,
So normally for my books, I research a lot of Christian stuff. This one, I put a survey out there, and the questions were like, "What are your 3 favorite shows right now?" And then the next question was, and I forget how I worded it, something like, "What's something that you've watched that you felt was too adult for you to watch?" Or if you're in college now, if you're in your 20s, think back to your high school years. What did you watch that was maybe too mature? And it's crazy the shows that they're saying and the shows that they're saying they're watching. You know what I mean? So, like, I know for a fact 10, 11, 12-year-olds that have watched Orange is Black. I swore I would never watch it because I had lots of people tell me, look, I'd never had same sex thoughts until watching that show. And then all of a sudden and so as someone who's walked out of that, I went ahead and I watched two episodes of every show, the first 2 episodes of every show they said they felt was too adult or their main ones that they were watching. And I was just appalled. Like, and so I'm saying this because we are just like deadening senses and letting our kids just think that this is the normal. And so then there is a show and it's called I had to look I don't Blair White. And so she is an activist. She's very far on the right side. But she was a man and has had top surgery as an adult. Super against anything on children, super against, like, she has tons of people on her shows. And so I'm saying it because, like, normally the podcasts I watch are pretty Christian, pretty clean. And when I listen to it, like, the promises being made to these people, they think they're exchanging their body and they're getting a real functioning another body,
yeah,
but they're not. It's total lies. There's
Yeah.
no way to fix it. It's all experimental. Then you're needing to continue to have medical treatments. It is a money pit. It is a money grab. And it is, I mean, killing off an entire generation. Like, it is, making them sterile, no reproduction. Like, I mean, anyway, it's just so sad. It's so horribly sad. And so I listened to one of the podcasts, and it was a man who thought that he was becoming a woman, and so they explained the process of removing the male organ to
Yeah.
give yourself a woman's organ. And it's not real. It is a wound, and it is always going to try to close.
Yeah.
There's no, and so they don't find the satisfaction that they want. And I think people are just scared to talk about it, like,
Well,
because
yeah,
it
because
is.
you're canceled and you're hung on a cross as soon as you start bringing it up.
Absolutely. Why can't I do this to my child? What is the big deal? And so I've been really blessed to find a couple of people to share their stories about detransitioning, and just there's a girl that I'm following now. She did testosterone for like 7 years, had top surgery, just everything. She's come out of it now, married, two children, another baby on the way. But like, her videos are so filled with torment because now she has these babies, and how she was meant to feed them, she can't.
Yeah.
Like, and so emotionally, she's just been very raw and transparent. And then I think that, when I watched that Blair White, and she was talking with lots of people with transitioning and transgenderism, and why is it that you can walk in and instantly get approved for a surgery and testosterone, but like with mental illness, they want you to do a test, they want to make sure that,
Yeah.
like, they want to check all the checks and balances over here, but not considering it over here and just rushing you right in. um the new show, I've never really talked much about this, but one of the shows the kids mentioned, Ginny and Georgia. And so I just had a conversation with my daughter, because it's rated 14. And she was like, "Do you think it's bad for me to watch that with, my kids?" And I was like, "Well, I mean, I watched the first two episodes, and it's not horribly outlandish. But in episode one, you've got this mom getting drunk, charging her vibrator to masturbate. Why is this on 7 o'clock
And
TV
why is
for
it rated for kids or rated for
what?"
teenagers? Like, what are we?
And
I
so
remember back. I
now,
remember back when I was a kid, you literally couldn't say like "damn" on the TV, and it was rated R.
I know parents went into a room, closed the door, and you didn't have to know what happened. End of
Yeah.
story. And now so anyway, so that show, so my friend, another friend who knows I'm writing this book, the new series just dropped. And so she said, "Nikki, they have an abortion. This young girl in school has an abortion, and everybody's affirming it and saying it's great." And I've never had to walk that path. I don't know, but I do know there's so much pain on the other side of it, from people trying to heal from what they
Yeah.
feel like they've done eventually. And for you to sugarcoat it and tell teenagers it's really no big deal, and then for abortion clinics to offer them without a parent's signature, like, that's my issue with this book.
Yeah.
Teenagers, your parents have loved you and protected you and wanted to be there for you your whole life. And this mainstream media that's telling you they're the enemy, and that they are the ones that Planned Parenthood wants to help you, this wants to help you, that they don't. They want to make money off of you, and they're not concerned about your scars.
There's and this is what blows my mind. So I have not always been a churchgoer, but I've always loved God. You know what I mean? Like, I know
Yeah.
there's a God, but I couldn't separate the two from church. I couldn't separate people from church for a long time. So that being said, anybody who is roughly our age that can look around the events of the world that are going on right now and not realize that there is absolutely a massive spiritual battle going on is I don't know. I know the Bible talks about they'll have blinders over their eyes, and
Yeah.
that's obviously what's going on. But I don't. If you have any, and but there's also on the flip side of that, there's a lot of good, there's a lot of spiritual revivals going on now. Instead at college campuses, you have
Yeah.
baptism parties instead of keggers. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You have
Yeah.
now it's like trending to like go to church and like be. So there is also a plus side to this, but as far as
Yeah.
like the transgenderism goes and these shows that are being allowed on TV and these and here's another wild point as far as shows go. So if you go onto Netflix and you start scrolling through cartoons, cartoons are no longer cartoons for kids.
Yeah.
My wife and I, like, we literally have, I don't know if you've ever heard of Big Mouth. Now, for somebody our age who's been through like middle school, yes, it's hilarious. I love Big Mouth. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Do I want my 12-year-old watching it? No.
Yeah.
And there's probably 14, 15 other shows that her and I periodically like watch to get a chuckle out of. But is it something that's and literally it's rated for teens? Like,
Yeah.
is that something that they really need to be watching? And they're cartoons.
Yeah.
Back when you and I were kids, we had Beavis and Butthead. My parents were staunchly against me watching Beavis and Butthead. I
Mine
had
too.
to sneak out to the TV at 10 o'clock at night, turn the volume all the way down, and sit this close to the TV to watch Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know if that's where like the lapse in morality comes in, is because kids have just been like fed all of this stuff that's being accepted. And they also, on the other side of it, you have fear of being canceled. And as a kid, as a teenager, that's terrifying. So
Yeah.
why wouldn't you, like, all you want as a child is to be accepted. So why wouldn't you go into school and be like, yes, I support kids. I support transgenderism in kids. Yes,
Yeah.
I support, you know what I mean? All this media. Yes, I want to listen to the song Anxiety because people suffer from mental illness, and this is a song about mental illness.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So kids
Yeah.
are put in a real headlock these days as far as what they are subjected to, and on the flip side, what they could be subjected to if they deny it.
Yeah. The bullying
And it's
that comes
sad,
in.
man.
Yeah. Absolutely.
My kids come home. My daughter dealt with it constantly, and my daughter adapted to the whole "this is acceptable" mindset.
Yeah.
And then she had me on the flip side, like, honey, this isn't normal. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's sad. And I don't know at what point, that was another thing they talked about it on the PBD show yesterday. You know, at what point do we as a society put our foot down and say enough is enough? And I
Yeah.
think with this administration, I think a lot of that is starting to come on.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the United States, we have 4-year terms.
Yeah.
So you make all this progress in 4 years as far as what's going on and what laws that are being passed and outlawing
Yeah.
child mutilation. But then in 4 years we could get the other side in and they're like, nope, this is what the people want, this is what our people want. So
Yeah.
it's a big battle. And I think anybody that, just going back to my initial point, I think anybody that cannot see that there is a very clear spiritual warfare going on right now,
Absolutely.
I would encourage you to take it, maybe read your Bible a little bit, take a little deeper, take a little deeper look at things.
I think like my husband and I were driving, I don't know, a month ago, and I was listening to a podcast. A friend had sent it to me because you know, I've got a chapter in the book, so I'm just trying to educate teenagers and young adults to things they may not have, you know, been aware of before. And so talking about like some of the ways that, you know, we get brainwashed and manipulated into thinking that 1 + 2 = 3 when they're really showing us, you know, 0 + 0 = 3. And
Yeah.
so there was this guy, so there was this episode a month ago. I guess a guy was in a bar, maybe it was a Jewish bar, and he said, I hate Jews, or fuck the Jews, or I can't remember exactly what it said. There was a sign, he held it up. The girls got, did you hear about all this?
No, I didn't. I'm marking this. They'll ban my video from what you just said.
Sorry. Okay.
You're good.
Yeah. So,
I'll go back and edit it. You're fine. But no, I didn't see the video.
Republican podcast was just sharing how, you know, the left would never allow us to say F a whole nation. But it has to do with Palestinian and just all the different things that are going on. I don't
Yeah.
normally pay attention to politics. My husband is super into politics. So we're listening to this
Us as old
and
men, we have to be.
huh? And, yeah.
Us as old men, we have to be. Go ahead.
So we're listening to this, and because I have multiple things in the social media chapter about how you can be canceled, you can be fired. Like there was a girl who was born in, I'm jumping ships. I'm going to tell two different stories. But there was a girl, and I guess this was like 15 years ago, and she got canceled because she was hopping on a plane to Africa, and she said, headed to Africa, hope I don't get AIDS. Oh no, I'm
Oh, I
lying.
remember that. Yeah,
Okay.
I remember
She
that.
totally got canceled, lost her, and she was
Yeah,
in
lost her
marketing.
job.
She had a college degree. Like, that's the dumbest thing you could ever say.
Yeah.
What the heck is wrong with you? And so, like, I'm wanting to talk to these kids about our words are like when you squirt toothpaste out of a toothpaste container, you can't shove them back in. And when you post it on social, like the girl from the airlines that got fired for twerking on her video in her uniform, she was in uniform. She signed something saying she
Yeah.
would not do that, and so I've got this chapter in this book. Well, just 2 months ago, there was this huge thing at this bar, and I believe it was up by New York City. I'll forward the podcast to you. But
Yep.
anyway, so they hold up this sign. The waitresses, they get terminated, and the kid has turned it into a "I am the victim. Why can't I have freedom of speech?" And my husband and I were like, and my husband goes, "See, this is where he's wrong. He can have freedom of speech. He did have freedom of speech. He held up the sign. Now
You
the
have the freedom to do it, but
consequences
you're not
are
free of
the
consequences.
backlash
Yeah.
that he feels. That's the consequence, because your truth isn't everybody's truth, and we
Yeah.
can't just walk around saying F this group of people, F this group, and that's what he did. And so you can't just lump everybody together. So anyway, so it was how poor me, that pity me, that no ownership
No.
mentality. Kid doesn't get suspended from college. The owner of the bar who lets the two girls go offers to pay for them to go to Auschwitz to like learn what happened in the Holocaust.
Oh no, you're talking. Okay, I know. I did hear about this. You're talking about the owner of Barstool Sports. What the heck is his name? Yeah, and the kid. Yeah, the kid came in. Um, yeah, I did hear about all this.
Okay. So yeah, so like my husband and I were listening to a podcast on that, like I said, a month or two ago, and I was like, I need to have this in my book. Like the kids need to see that when you accept your mistakes, you own up to them, you walk through remorse, things are going to get better. But when you have this oh poor me mentality, I didn't know better, I'm the victim, I should have freedom of speech, why can't I say what I want to say? Like that's ridiculous. You can say what you want to say, but then don't be mad at the consequences. So then I think he started a GoFundMe, and that's what blew it all
So
up.
he,
What?
yeah, so he did, and I want to talk about this. I want to
Okay.
piggyback off what you said because I followed this. So Dave Portnoy owns the Barstool Sports in New York City. You're absolutely right. These two kids came in, ordered bottle service, and with bottle service, they come out with a sign with sparklers, and it said "fuck the Jews." So the girls got fired, and the boys. So Dave Portnoy gets the clip the next morning. He's obviously not at the bar, like he's you know
Yeah.
what I mean. He's just the owner. He's halfway across the country in L.A.
Yeah.
He sees it on social media the next morning because people now are at this point like Dave Portnoy is an anti-Semite, blah blah blah, and
Yes.
Portnoy's like, I'm fucking Jewish. What are you talking about?
Right.
And so he fires the two girls, and then reaches out to the two guys. The friend of the guy immediately says, "I'm so sorry, Dave. Like, it wasn't because Dave was pissed. He was like, I'm gonna fucking sue you." He was like, "Don't ever come in my bar again."
Yeah.
The friend was like, "I apologize. You know what I mean? I was wrong. I shouldn't have let him do it. Like, but I also didn't do it. It was my friend that ordered the bottle service." Portnoy kind of gives him a pass. And then he calls the other guy and he offers to the friend. He says, "I'm going to offer you and your friend that did it a free trip to go to Auschwitz and tour Auschwitz." He said, "If you take it," he said, "I'm not going to blow this up online," because he's got a huge social media presence. Like Dave Portnoy he's got a voice. The friend takes the deal. He reaches out to this other kid, this Palestinian kid, or I don't know where he was from, so don't anybody quote me on that. I know you get your head cut off in the comments for stuff like this. Wherever the Islamist, whatever you want to call it, friend, contacts him, and this is the mentality that is achieved with the everybody gets a trophy theory or like mentality, and it's bottom line, it's just unaccountability. When you don't hold your kids accountable for shit, this is the stupid shit that they do.
So live in your basement forever.
Yeah. So he reaches out to this kid and he says, hey, and the kid's apologetic at first. The kid's apologetic. He's like, you know what? He was like, I was wrong. Shouldn't have done that. He was like, I didn't know who was in the bar. Blah, blah, blah. Then the kid gets off the phone and calls his parents. And it's Dave Portnoy's harassing me over something that I did in his bar last night. The parents, I believe, and don't quote me on this, I believe one of it is an attorney. So they immediately, so they immediately like turned around and like placed something on the whole thing. And I don't know where it's progressed to this point, because at that point I was like, but they told this kid, they were like, you will not go to Auschwitz. We don't believe in that. So from that point forward, I don't know where things have progressed.
Yeah,
I would sit here and look it up, but it's not the point of the podcast, and I don't want to get too hung up on it. But what I will say is I'm a huge believer in accountability.
Yeah.
And in holding your kids accountable, and when your kids fuck up, you have to be the iron fist. Like you cannot rule with like patting them on the back and saying everybody makes mistakes. And no, they need to understand consequences in life. And something like this, there could have been way worse consequences for that kid. Because I got to be honest, not to even stick up for like Israel or Palestine or Iran or any of this shit. Somebody like me, if I'm in a bar, I see some shit coming in that says fuck the Jews. I'm immediately, just because of who I am, I'm going over and I'm, what the fuck is this all about?
What's wrong with you? Yeah.
Yeah. There could have been some guys there that weren't dealing with that. That kid could have been dragged in the street, beaten half to death over a comment like fuck the Jew. And here I keep saying it. Over a comment like that, I could have.
Yeah.
You don't know what kind of consequences could have come of that. And it all stems from your parents never held you accountable. Your parents let you grow up to be a little shithead and probably run around and do whatever you wanted your whole life. Yeah. And now you think it's acceptable. And now you think that your voice and your feelings are the only ones that matter. Yeah. Well, they're not. You have to conform to the rest of society, even though you have freedom of speech. Like you said, you had the freedom to do it, but you are not free of the consequences that evolve from that choice.
And so that's a big part of what all these different chapters on your friends. I'm going to talk about toxic friends. You know, we used to joke and say, if your friends would jump off a bridge, would you too? But the truth behind that statement, where these phones are concerned, if your friend sends a dirty picture, are you going to? Absolutely, because I want to be part of that clique. I don't want to be X. And then when I get bullied, or then when this happens, or then when that happens, or as a girl that had sex in high school, I remember guys saying, well, you've already had sex. Like, what do you mean this is a problem? This is an issue. And so, like, I wish someone would have told me, hey, if you want to, you don't have to keep doing that. You may not be a virgin anymore, but you don't have to keep sleeping around. And I think that girls, and I'm not saying that guys don't have pressures. I know they do. But the anorexia, the image, like I just found out Instagram, if a girl deletes a picture on her iPhone between the ages of 12 and 18, Instagram will instantly send her an ad for a makeup product.
Wait.
So that was also on that podcast.
Okay, if she deletes a picture,
if a girl deletes a picture on her iPhone, on her Instagram, a teenage girl, they will send her cosmetic ads.
That's disgusting. I need that. I need that article because I'll post that all over social media.
So it's actually the same podcast. So then also on this podcast, they talked about the robots or iChat and what is it like? How the guy maker of Facebook is trying to push these new teenage chat bots. And then literally how some movie stars like have sold their voices to be sexually deviant with our teenagers on IE chatbots. So
Well,
this is
I don't think
all on this podcast. It's like the most.
I don't think they're selling their voices at this point. AI has made it pretty clear that it can copy
Well,
anybody's
I
voice
forget.
without their
I mean,
permission.
she named two or three movie stars that somehow or another worked in initial stages. Like,
Okay.
and when I send you the podcast, she's super market. She's
No,
super
I
reputable.
really need to listen to this one.
So,
So
so my husband and I listened to all of these things because someone had messaged it to me and said, "Hey, I think like most of this podcast has to do with the book you're writing, and you're really going to want some of these details."
yeah,
So, so I say all of these things. Our kids are lonely and they're thinking these phones are giving them some sort of connection, and they're not. What they need to
no,
do is go to the mall on Friday night and hang out. They need to be in community next to each other and put the phones in a box when they walk
yeah.
in a house and be done with it. And so I mean, I don't
Well, and
know.
there should never be a lack of in your household telling your kids how great they are, how good they look, how that's something that affirming your children that's something I struggled with for a long time because I had a hard time telling, like, understanding who I was as a
Yeah,
person. I mean, especially as a drug addict, like you
yeah,
literally numb that for years. So like when I hit 30 and I finally started getting my life together, the last 12 years of my life have been really learning to love myself and understand how to communicate properly and effectively. And part of that is you have to learn how to tell your children that they're great because you neglected them for 10 years. More than likely I did. You know
yeah.
what I mean?
I did
So
too. Yeah,
there's no time better than now to start telling your kids that they look great when they walk out in the morning. So that way they're not deleting a photo and Instagram is immediately telling them that they're ugly and they need to buy
yeah,
this makeup. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Because obviously if you're the psychology behind that is so disgusting. My
Yes,
daughter deletes a photo because I know how my daughter is with photos.
yes,
It has to be her perfect
yes.
side, her perfect degree of chin tilt, like the perfect amount of lighting, or else she's deleting 20 photos.
Yeah,
So the psychology behind a platform like Meta sending advertisements for girls who are deleting photos on that platform for makeup ads at a
yeah.
time where they are very clearly
Vulnerable.
vulnerable is disgusting.
Yeah, yeah,
But you have to, and like I said, no time's better than now. If it's not something you do, I tell my kids constantly how smart they are, how great of a job my wife and I both do
yeah,
because I know I know what's on the cell phone. I
yeah,
know what their peers are looking at, telling them kids are
yeah,
disgusting.
yeah,
So if you're going to combat teen suicide and combat them feeling like garbage all the time, like you have to
yeah,
think back as to how you felt as a teenager.
yeah,
That's another thing that's been big for me is understanding and my wife, thank God for my wife, she's the one that kind of like put that in perspective for me. She's like, do you not remember what it was like to be 21? Do you not remember what it was like to be, because
yeah,
at 42 years old, I sit here and I'm like, well, now I have understanding and wisdom of how the world works. You need to understand, and I get it. Like that's where we looked at our parents like, you're an
yeah,
asshole, shut up, I'm not listening to you, because
yeah,
they never looked at it from their own perspective at 16 or
yeah,
17 years old. um so that's something I've started doing a lot more of, especially with my son, because a lot of times I expect him to know things and
yeah,
I'm like, come on. I give him shit because he doesn't know it. And my
yeah,
wife's like, dude, you need to stop. That's not okay. But
yeah,
always tell your kids how amazing they are, because it's, like I said, it's very clear there is a massive spiritual war going on. And um, we're on the front lines of it with our kids every day.
Well,
So,
something I realized the other day, which it, Tony and I have 9 kids combined. The youngest 3 I birthed and have been with us. We've had other kids that have come and stayed on and off throughout the past 19 years, but my 3 were with me until they were 17. They all launched at 17. And I said the other day, I said, I share the story of you showing up on the front porch, us going to the kitchen table, me cursing Freddie out, you being kind and compassionate, loving on him, telling him we wanted to hear what he had to say, sending him in the other room, and then explaining to me that Freddie is an obedient a boy. He is a good boy. Um, and that this world's going to beat him up. And it's our job as the parents to speak truth, to call out the good in each of our kids. And like Freddie's getting, like, he continually gets moved up and moved up and moved up in the Air Force. He's doing great. He is 24 years old, has been in 7 years, and is like doing well. God
Good for
has
him.
really blessed him. And my oldest just got into med school. Like,
Oh
those
wow.
are not paths. Those are like, he has his bachelor's in kinesiology, which is sports medicine. He has a couple of masters in different medical sciences, whatever. He's 29 and he hasn't quit trying. Like, he's married, 2 kids. I couldn't be prouder. And then, our other son that's out here in Omaha, and he's the one that we talked about, how he's a convicted felon, almost making 100 grand a year.
Yeah.
Like, God has really blessed him as a convicted, but God's so good because he does more. He makes room for us at tables that we could never imagine being at.
Yeah.
And so I say all that because, like, I wonder if, as I've been constantly sharing the stories of speaking that good, calling out that good, if I have not continued to just call forth that excellence out of the younger children who have been able to soar. And I mean, that's almost been to the point where now, like, I've got a thing in my phone where it says, pray, don't complain. And so when I'm thinking about different kids that are struggling in different areas, I pray about it. And I
Yeah.
give God good scripture to, like, in my kids, just all the different scriptures that I could speak life over them, and prosperity and blessing and health and wholeness and emotional healing. Like, I'm working my steps, I'm processing and doing my amends letters. I wish that my kids would heal. Like, they're 20 and 30 years, because like you said, I did drugs and I abandoned them and I was
Yeah.
gone for a lot of years. And so I know that there's some pain there. I know that there's some hurt there, And so I say all that because you're absolutely right. If we don't speak the good to them, they're going to be out there searching. And there are these con frickin' people, not even just con men anymore. There are women out there manipulating our children and conning them and
Eat him alive.
grooming them. These
Yeah.
freaking games. These games are insane. I've been seeing how people have been having people pull up to their houses because kids give their address on like Roblox and dumb stuff like that. Like, if you're not talking to your 8-year-old or your 10-year-old, you're inviting masterminds to your front door.
Yeah. No, I've
But
seen some of
don't
those
send them
videos
to the
and
park. Don't
yeah.
send them to the park and let them play and run out from
No,
everybody.
yeah. Well, I think that's a lie that's been again kind of manifested in the wrong way. I There's nothing wrong with sending your kids outside. I'm not gonna. We let ours go do whatever they want. And this, you know what I mean. If it's outside, you want to go take a lap around the neighborhood. Go take a lap
Yep.
around the neighborhood.
Freddie ran by.
I've been here long enough. I know enough people. I'm not worried about our neighborhood. I'm not
Yeah.
worried now. I get it. You live in Compton or whatever. Yeah, maybe you don't want your kid out walking around, but you know what? You can still figure out, take them to the park, take them outside to go do
Find
stuff,
things to do.
find things to do. That's
Absolutely.
your responsibility as a parent too.
The local YMCA's have grants for low
Oh
income
yeah,
kids. I tell
yeah,
this to all my Celebrate Recovery moms. They also offer daycare service. So, like, you can use the daycare service, and even if you're not working out, you can go to one of their quiet homework rooms
yeah.
and work on your GED, work on education, quiet time, like whatever. Work on your physical health, swim, do things, and then let your kids do things. Get them involved in
The
programs.
YMCA was great when we had all three kids under our roof. The YMCA was fantastic out here because, like you said, my wife and I are big into working out.
Yep.
We would go down, kids would hang out in the playroom, they have all kinds of stuff and they have all kinds of activities. We used to go to like carve a pumpkin. They would throw all the pumpkins in the pool, and you had to jump in the pool and get the pumpkin out, and then would go carve it in the back room. Like they have all kinds
Yeah,
of really cool activities. Go to the
absolutely.
YMCA.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, and that's the thing. That's basically kind of what I'm saying in this book is, and it's what I say every day. there's enough resources out there that we can better ourselves. We need to quit acting like we're paralyzed and like we don't realize that we need to be more
Yeah.
present, more intentional, do a better job. My son, he's in the Air Force. He says, do a better job. Like that's his main thing. Suck less, do a better job.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he says it with a lot of explosive, whatever. But anyway, so I mean, like that's kind of my thing. Just wanting to talk to these girls and explain first off everything you're feeling, everyone else is feeling. Nobody likes puberty. Nobody likes becoming a woman. It sucks for everybody. It's
Well, but
awkward. You'll get
that's the
over it.
other lie that you tell yourself as a teenager is I'm weird because I feel like this,
Yeah.
and you're not. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's the
Absolutely.
number one. That's the reason kids don't raise their hand. That's the reason kids get depressed. That they think that like they think they're an oddball, that they're the only one having those feelings, when really it is every kid that is around you. Like you're all
Yeah.
having it. You're all just too weird and like
Yeah.
underdeveloped to understand it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
Exactly. So,
so I'm gonna go ahead. We're gonna cut this topic real quick. We're pulling
okay.
up on an hour because I wanted to talk about marriage. That was the main precursor that wanted me to have you back on. So, uh, what what was it? I'm gonna start with this question. What was it that made you realize that you wanted to work for your marriage? When things were in the shitter, what was the light that went off and you said, what am I doing? This has to work.
Well, I think that we fall in love with our spouse because they're so opposite us. And
Yeah.
there's so many, like, we love those things and we appreciate those things. But over time, if we listen to the voice in our head that finds fault with those things, we can grow bitter over what once really excited us. And
Yeah.
so, my biggest struggle in my marriage has been that we have 9 kids. It's no, we, um, I, my boys have always called Tony dad. Uh, some of his kids call me mom, some of them call me stepmom. I mean, it's just like we've been together going on 27 years.
It's
So
awesome.
first marriage without Jesus, divorced for 3.5 years. Next Tuesday will be 19 years, remarried since he got out of prison, sober, faithful, just moving forward. And I can look at like notes in my Bible or different Bible studies or things where I thought that other people or our kids or whatever was the problem. And it was just poor communication. And us learning to communicate really has been the best thing. But the biggest thing that caused me to want to fight for my marriage was 2 years ago, I had a relapse with alcohol and just some things. And I had seriously considered cheating on my husband. And I've talked very openly about this. And it was, he was working 60 hours a week. So I was lonely. Um, my daughter was struggling in her current situation, so it didn't look like she was going to be coming to get the girls back. So I'm raising 3 grandchildren. This is not what I signed up for. Um, my blood sugar was, my A1C was like 11 and my blood sugar was like 4 and 500 every day. And so just the emotional fog of not really, and then I added alcohol to it,
Yeah.
and was just getting intoxicated. And so a lot of times they'll say there's that 80-20 split, that you have 80% of what you want with your spouse, but there's always that 10 or 20% that you see in someone else that they do better, but you have 80%. And so what had happened was, like I just literally for about 2 days while drinking and intoxicated, called up an ex. And then when I sobered up the next morning and realized that I had actually talked to someone besides my husband after, 17 years, it was okay. What is it that I want? And I said, till death do us part. I said, let no one separate us. I said a covenant. I didn't just say a contract. And so I ended up confessing to Tony, telling him everything. And I said, we need to be in like marriage Bible study. We need to be with other couples who are doing life, whatever. I need this, I need that, I need this, I need that. And so I went through the list of the things that I needed from him. And he was able to tell me things he needed from me. And we just moved forward. I said, anytime you want, pick up my phone. We don't have passwords, and we've never had passwords that were secrets.
Yeah.
We've always had a great marriage. Anyone would tell you that our marriage that they've watched has been one of the happiest, most joy filled, and it really has been. But there was a couple month window where I just found myself getting more and more depressed, wallowing in my self pity, and in this book called The Love Dare, which is a fireproof movie, they talk about a
I have
room.
one. We
You
hit
have
my one. Yeah, we have.
they talk so the appreciation and depreciation room is my favorite, and it talks about when you meet someone, you think of all the things you love about them. But then in the depreciation room is where we premeditate sin and premeditate arguments, and we write all the hateful things on the wall, where we should be kneeling at the door of that room praying for our spouse. And that's when it clicked. The appreciation room, I fell in love with my husband because he was a great father. Why would I be mad that he's still a great father, trying to help his prodigal children who are still trying to figure things out?
I have a question, and this isn't to reopen wounds. Obviously, I have a point, and
Okay.
I have a point that I want to make with it. And if it's too deep or whatever, just tell me you don't want to talk about it. How did Tony react when you said that um, you had called your ex?
Um, he asked if I wanted to see him go back to prison because he would kill him.
Well, that's an understand because I would have responded the same. But go ahead.
He so it's the X in my book that put a needle in my arm.
Okay.
And so
Now, were that was off the table at the time, right? Like that's not another thing you were looking for in
I
that moment.
in my relapse I was not looking for but so what had happened was I was drinking, smoking pot, and I had relapsed on I call it porn, but it wasn't like, Pornhub. It was Netflix. It was a show on Netflix. And
Okay.
I had gotten in someone else's account that was on our profile, and they had watched it was a show called Sex Life, and this woman was going to cheat on her husband with her ex. And so I guess it just planted seeds, and then next thing I know, I Facebook Googled his name.
So
He had his
what
cell
was
phone.
what was the fallout with Tony then? Like I'm still curious. Aside from Tony saying like what
um
asking if you wanted to go back to prison, there was obvious fallout because there was on
um
my end too.
there was like a 3 hour conversation discussion. All right, put it all out here. And then is this what you want? And I was like, I absolutely do not want that. I don't even know why because we've always never even been willing to call the opposite. Like, we don't even talk on the phone. We don't give rides to the opposite sex. Like, in Celebrate
Yeah.
Recovery, it's super strict about that. And so, um, and now let me tell you how good God is. I confessed. The very next day, this guy's wife messaged my husband
To tell him.
to tell him all about it, to send him like screenshots of our messages back and forth and
Yeah.
whatnot. So I had confessed the day before. I had come clean before all that had happened. But um, I would say there's probably been, my sponsor and I just talked about it yesterday, that there's probably been like 4 or 5 slams where Tony has said something hurtful in the past. This has been 22 months ago now, or 21 months ago. Um, so there's been a couple of times where he's like quoted scripture about like how we're drawn away by our lustful desires or whatever. And but for the most part, I know I'm forgiven. I know there are no deal breakers. We're better now than we ever have been. I would most definitely say that Tony is kinder and more compassionate and more, which I've always had. Like people always say, oh, not everybody has a husband willing to dance with them in the kitchen. Well, have you ever asked your husband? Have you ever said, hey, it would really mean so much if you would just hold me for 2 minutes to a song while we sway because I'm feeling empty.
Yeah.
And I
Well,
just,
but that's the whole, and I think everybody can have their own opinions. I think communication is the key to a successful marriage. The more you communicate, the more you put,
absolutely.
and willingness to accept the other person's feelings and how they feel. Um, that's been the big game changer in our relationship
Yeah.
too.
And so, I mean, there's just been a few times, like I said, where, I mean, but for the most part, especially the pet, but honestly, he can see the change. Okay. I just worked this step and he can see the change in me. He sees my desire to please him, to put him above, like, I mean, it's God and then it's him. Like he just sent me to Destin. I got to be with the family. He stayed home and worked. As soon as I got home, I'm instantly making his brownies, cooking his cookies, having his meals ready for work. At work, they know he has a special meal every night, something different. He had,
Yeah.
I mean, I take care of my man. So, about 3 weeks ago, the lesson was relapse, lesson 21. And it talks about, when you're hurting, when you're tired, when you're angry, like all these things doing it. And it said, what new tools have you learned in your recovery? Um, and I realized, so the reason I get up at 4 a.m., my husband leaves for work at 6 p.m. and I take my bedtime medicine at 6. And by 7:30, if I'm not close to asleep yet, I will drink a cup of nighttime tea and I will take a melatonin. And I am asleep by 8 o'clock at night and
Oh,
I
I am
sleep
too.
till because my husband's gone. So
Yeah.
there's no reason for me to be awake when he's gone. I don't need to be up watching nighttime TV. I don't need to be feeding. So in the Bible, it says he will give you beauty for ashes. Do you know how many people he wants to give them beauty for their ashes, but they keep putting fresh firewood on those ashes? As an ex lesbian, bisexual, whatever, if I sat and watched late night TV, I would struggle with lust every day of my life
Yeah. Well,
if
it's
I
you,
watched regular TV.
but you're mature enough and you're old enough and you've been in recovery long enough to know you have to take yourself. It's per people, places, and things. That's like rule number. That's like rule number
Absolutely.
one of recovery. Like you can't be around the things that trigger you. Like
Absolutely.
so,
Absolutely.
yeah,
And so I put myself to bed and then I get up and I get to do my Bible time from 4 to 5 and then I'm making coffee, doing whatever, and my husband gets home at 5:30 and we spend an hour and a half before he goes to bed. We have
yeah,
every morning. And every night when he gets up in the afternoon, I'm cooking him breakfast. I made him cream of wheat for the first time this week. We were just talking the other day about things his mom cooked for him. Like, and
okay,
and I mean, I do. I want to do things for him, but he can't eat bacon every day. That's not
yeah,
healthy. You know what I
right,
mean? And so sometimes he'll have oatmeal. Sometimes, and so now we added cream of wheat. And he's like, you can't get distracted. You'll have to stir it. Otherwise it'll be lumpy. Like, I mean, but it's, and so I can honestly say these past 2 years of our marriage have been the best ever because we are on a whole new level of being sacrificial for each other, being intentional with each other. Um, yeah,
I'm very. It's funny to listen to you talk because you and I are very similar in this aspect, as far as our story goes, as far as everything that's happened. Because it was about 3 years ago. Things kind of went south with my wife and I. I was very judgmental. I thought she should be doing more. Didn't communicate it. Just got very resentful over, you should be paying more attention to me. You should be doing more around the house. But again, didn't communicate it.
yeah,
Um, Things kind of escalated, and at one point I just moved out. I was like, I had sent some really bad messages. I had also been back using cocaine again,
okay,
which I kept under the radar, did not tell her about. for literally, I think it was like 2 months, I was just going in. But anyway, things escalated. She told me I needed to go to my mom's. I moved out. Um, and during that time, I started talking to somebody else, because, instead of me knowing what I needed to do and me doing what I was doing, I knew I was not doing the right thing. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I knew I should be at home fighting for my marriage and trying to keep my marriage, but I was resentful. To be honest, I was like, fuck her. Like, if she's
Yeah.
not going to do what I want her to do, but on the same side of that, I never looked back 6 months earlier to where my job was eating me alive, where I had become like a shell of a human being. I was not giving her attention. I was not fun to be around anymore. I was very angry. I was very resentful with, not only growing resentful with her, but I was very resentful with the people I worked for. Um, so it just kind of bred this, like, not only hate for my marriage. I don't want to say hate. I've never hated my marriage. I've always loved my wife, even being away from her and even the shit that I was doing. I still loved my wife. So I never hated my marriage. I think resentful. And I
Yeah.
think you had mentioned earlier, I started focusing on that other 20%.
Yeah.
I didn't look at the fact that she was a great stepmom to my kids. I didn't look at the fact that she really was a good wife in everywhere else.
Yeah.
She's a great person. So I let all that slip, and um, like I said, I ended up talking to somebody else for a couple weeks, and I remember um, the turning point for me was, so the reason I asked you how Tony reacted was because the turning point for me was when she was in tears, and I realized all the damage I had caused.
Yeah.
Like, I had stopped using the drugs, and I had been like, like, I need to. I still wasn't moved home yet, but I was still. That was the point. It was before. It was before seeing the damage I'd done. I had realized I needed. I couldn't. I was going to end up back in prison. I was going to end up who I used to be
Yeah.
10 years ago if I kept on this path, and that was unacceptable for my kids. Like, because
Yeah.
above all else, even though I had gone down that path, I didn't really think of my kids at that point, but I was living with my son in his upstairs apartment at like 18 years old.
Yeah.
That's where I was staying. So
Yeah.
I'm sitting here like doing cocaine in his living room, sleeping on the couch. And I'm like, what are you fucking doing, dude?
Yeah.
like you're a loser.
Yeah.
But I'll never forget the tears and the hurt and the just all the damage that I had caused.
Yeah.
Um, that was the turning point for me, and I was like, so over the next few years, and just like you said too, that's why I laugh because our stories are very similar. Is over the last 3 years, our relationship has grown exponential
Yeah.
because I have made her a priority. There has been digs, there has been arguments, but I gotta be honest, my wife, and I know she probably still thinks about it, and that's not my. I can't tell her when her trauma is over with. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? If
When to
tomorrow
quit
she wakes up and
revisiting.
she wants to be like, you know what, fuck you for what you did 3 years ago. That's just something I got to deal with, and we can talk through it. And she would never do that, but she has every right to do that. I'm
Yeah.
not allowed to tell her when she has to stop feeling
Yeah.
over the things that I did. So she's been very good about letting the things go. Maybe not even letting them go. She doesn't. They haven't come up.
Yeah.
So, um, but she's made comments that I am not the same person I was. I worked diligently, and that's where I always talk to a lot of people, and I'm like, truck driving kind of saved my life because where I was an operations manager for the better part of 8 years, all that did was it allowed me to have a unlimited credit card. I was going to bars, taking people to bars. It was a party life after work. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
Getting into the truck, I was able to say, first of all, you can't drink, you can't do drugs because you get drug tested.
Yeah.
But mostly the first year that I drove semi was by far probably one of the hardest years of my adult life because I had used drugs up until I was 30 years old and went to prison, and now I'm 30. I was 38 years old, and I had to sit with my own thoughts
Yeah.
for 4 days a week, 5 days a
Yep.
week.
Yep.
And there were nights where for a while, I couldn't even drive at night because there was nothing to take my attention off the road. So the darkness would set in, and literally every bad thing that I had ever done kind of just flooded me. And I would be in tears. I would be like, and I
Yeah.
didn't have anybody to really talk to about it.
Yeah.
But we did a lot. I did a lot of self-reflecting over the last couple of years, and it just really worked. That's the reason that I wanted to bring up Tony, because and how he reacted, because for the life of me, I never want, not for the life of me and for the life of her, I never want to put her through anything like that
Yeah.
again. But I also don't think I think at this point, as long as things were to stay how they are, and I can't speak for her, you know what I mean? But I think she's always been the big one on communication. Spider coming down from my ceiling. I promise I dust regularly. No, but I can't speak for her, but I think she would tell me if she wasn't happy. I know she would tell me
Yeah.
at this point if she wasn't happy. So,
Well, so
um,
my thing happened. It happened in September. I was working with my sponsor in the month of September. I told him um, the beginning of October. And then I got really sick between Halloween and Thanksgiving. And so, I mean, I almost feel like, just like you said earlier, and I do believe this, that Anthony and I will have a huge marriage, prison, drug and alcohol, sexual freedom ministry. Like
yeah,
I've always believed that. And I do feel as if the enemy was literally trying to take us out. Like it was a colossal, just the fact that my kidneys are operating at 100% when my blood sugar was 400 for almost a year. Like, and then I got on those shots and I lost all that weight. So I got down to 120 pounds is what everybody, and now I'm 175. So I have already put on 55 pounds in the past like 6 months. And so like, I think for him, his, and I'm not saying his safety, but he can tell that I have a new respect for my sobriety and for Jesus. Like, you don't get that close. And my son looked at me that night when I was drunk and he said, Mom, you're being a fool. You just need to go to bed. And I mean, I remember that. Like, and when your kid looks at you and says that, I mean, it's super
yep.
embarrassing.
When your kids notice
And
it, that's another thing that you'll never forget.
and so like for me it is about I do want to leave a legacy to my kids of marriage and not divorce. I do not want to be a hypocrite. I do love Jesus and I want to serve him. I'm human. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to suck. But the more that I can learn from my mistakes and what my triggers are and what my downfalls are, I can put myself to bed at 8 o'clock and be up at 4 a.m.
Well,
Like
and
it's easy. It's such
yeah,
an
and
easy solution.
I said earlier too, and like I said, I've always been a big proponent of accountability. And like, if you can't own your own shit and you're all you're going to do through life is hurt people, hurt yourself, hinder your progress and your success.
Yeah.
Um, I don't understand why it's so hard for some people to be accountable. But me being able to sit back, just like you just said, and understand I was the one that caused that damage. Like, she
Yeah.
didn't ask for that. She didn't
Yeah.
deserve that. You know what I mean? My kids didn't deserve it when I was a drug addict. I did that.
Yeah.
Because all too often you hear people, when I see a finger pointing, I want to break the finger, because that's just one thing that's always driven me nuts. When I was in operations and people would come in my office, grown adults pointing fingers,
Yeah.
I'd be like, get out. Like, what? Um, I think accountability, as far as anybody that's trying, and obviously, I don't think you'll ever get sober unless you learn how to be accountable. But accountability is huge.
Yeah.
Um, and it's been the one thing, me being able to own all my shit and own all my bad decisions. And the beautiful thing is, once you learn how to be completely accountable for everything, once you're making good decisions, then you can be accountable for those too. And you can be like, hey, like, good job, dude. Like, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yep.
So it's not just about owning your bad decisions, but you also get to take credit then for your good ones as well. So
Exactly. Exactly.
Um,
And that's basically what I look at. I look at the growth in our marriage, has been, me remembering that he's top of the line. Like a lot of people have issues with that. No, your kids are not going to be with you until death do you part. I mean, yes and no, but they're going to move out. They're going to have their own
yeah,
lives. It is your spouse. And so, not letting the kids cause wedges, not, I've always been a doer. Like, and I mean, I remember even like being like, God, I do everything. I don't know why my husband doesn't see it and appreciate me. And I remember God saying, yes, you do everything. You serve everybody, you run, you're so busy. And when you get home, you're exhausted and you can't even spend time with your husband. You just pass right out because you're so tired. And like I did that for a lot of years. Let my husband I mean, it wasn't even sloppy seconds, it was nothing.
yeah.
Like, just because busy serving the kids, busy serving in ministry, busy serving my
Well,
friends.
I can only imagine how hard that is with 9 kids. We have 3 kids, and when they were all under the same roof, I can't tell you how just ragged we felt
Yeah.
regularly.
Yeah.
My
Well,
my wife, she got sent home, so she still works from home, which I love. And she loves too. She works for a great company, makes great money, works from home, but they sent her home at COVID when they
okay.
sent all the kids home. She's been
Yeah.
home since COVID. And I remember I came home one night and she was literally curled up in a ball on the couch rocking because at that point she'd enjoyed going into the office. She's a
Yeah.
social person.
Yeah.
She likes social content or she likes being sociable. So it was a month or two in I came home and she was in tears and I was essential because I was running the plastic company.
Yeah.
So I came home from work the one night and she's rocking in a ball. She's like, I can't do it. She's like, I'm losing my shit. She was like, not only did my work send me home, now I have 3 kids that I have to teach school to,
Yeah.
and on top of our 2 dogs, like, she's like, I'm losing my shit. And I've always tried to like, she's not somebody that needs a lot of comfort and a lot of reassurance, but I can tell when she is needing it, and I always try to go 200% at that point because
Yeah.
she doesn't require a whole lot of it. So when she does, I know she really needs it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I grabbed her. I was like, "Go put some clothes on." She literally put sweats on, like she looked like a homeless person, which I still laugh about. But we went and got pizza. I parked in like the parking lot of a place downtown. We sat in lawn chairs and watched the traffic go down the highway and ate pizza. And I'm like, and then it's just stuff like that. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I forget what were we talking about? Shit.
Me trying to manage 9 kids. So her managing
Yes,
the
you
three
trying to
kids
manage nine
and
kids,
work.
but yes, sorry, I went off on a tangent.
No, you're
I
good.
tend to do that.
Well, literally right now, so Tony will be 63 this summer. And so we are in the process over the next 6 months of downsizing this apartment we have in Iowa, moving back to Kentucky, fixing our house up to sell it.
We're
We are
at Kentucky.
we Our house is outside Madisonville, Kentucky.
Oh, we've talked about this.
We've
Okay.
got a couple of acres. We've got a 5 bedroom, 2 bath, two different a two car
My
garage and a one
kinfolk's
car
from Pike
garage.
County, so that's
Oh, okay, yeah, that's not far. That's not far.
yeah.
So Hopkins County is where.
Okay.
So and then we're gonna sell it. We're gonna buy a camper. We're either gonna buy a C-class one that we'll drive, um, or we'll put a shell on the back of my husband's truck. Downsize everything, put stuff in storage units, and we're going to both do Bible college. It's Andrew Womack's college, and I don't know if we're going to do it online or in person. In person would be in Colorado, which is exactly 8 hours from our baby who has the twins. The
Okay.
goal is for us to be available for the son who has twins right now because they don't have anybody in the town they live in.
Yep.
And so, but still to be able to travel because Alamogordo, New Mexico, all the way to Pikeville, Kentucky is a 20-hour drive. And then
Yeah.
you've got Omaha, New Mexico, and then you've got Evansville, Indiana. And so we have kids everywhere. And I literally just was telling my husband last night,
That's so funny. I drive through Evansville every day.
oh yeah. So I think you've told me that.
Yeah.
Um, So, and that's where 8 of the grandkids are.
Oh wow.
Both girls have 3 kids, and then my son, Tony Jr., has 2 boys there. So there are 8 grandkids out of the 15 that live in Evansville. And so, my goal for the next 10 years with this new book is, as we travel and speak at different high schools and colleges, that I can manipulate it where I'm able to see my kids for a week or two every
Yeah.
4 or 6 months, you know?
That's so funny. We have similar plans.
Yeah. But I mean, but that's what we're gonna do. That like
That's awesome.
literally is the plan. My son will move out of our house the 4th of July weekend, and we'll start fixing it up. I'm considering staining my deck this weekend. It's 1,300 square feet, so it's
Oh,
a pretty
holy
big
cow.
feat to stain it.
Dude, that's the size of my house.
My husband built me a wraparound. It 100%. Yes, it is a huge deck, and it's glorious. And my husband built it. It's so beautiful. Yeah. And we've got pictures with 100 people on it. You know, 75.
Do you want to come
people.
build mine? Because I need my old one torn up and a new one put down. And
he does a really good job. Quality work.
Well, you got the wife discount. I won't get the wife discount.
Quality work. Well, that's what I was just telling my son. I was like, we're going to go ahead and paint the house, and he was like, why? And I was like, well, I mean, it would cost 15 or 20 grand for us to pay someone, but Tony and I are both professional painters. So for us to paint all the inside rooms of the house, stain the deck, and spray paint the house, it'll bring up the property value, 20, 30 grand. And it took us a couple weeks. So, I mean,
I could paint, I could build the deck. I don't have time to do it, to be honest. I don't have time. God. I don't have the want to do it.
Yeah. Well, at one time we had talked about truck driving, but we never did. But I mean, it's a full-time thing. I get it. I get it.
I literally say so I had a 5-year plan when I went into it, and I only got into it because of my felonies. It was the only field that I could go in and make close to 6 figures and have a felony, because all the places that I was trying to transfer from my last job, I went on interview after interview, and they all, the background check came up.
Yeah.
And as literally like 3, and I knew better than to just offer up that I had a felony. And so I would go into these and let them offer me the job, which I got 3 of the jobs. But then they would slide that piece of paper over, and it would be like, have you ever committed a felony? We do background checks. So then I was honest. I'm like, hey, you guys didn't ask, but yes, they're about 5 years old, 6 years old. And they're like, well, we go back 7, 8 years. And I'm like, okay. So I hopped into a truck, but I had a 5-year plan when I did it. My 5 years coming up.
Okay.
I might do another 3 to 5 just because I'm kind of like waiting to see how kind of some things pan out. But we have the same goal. Yeah. My wife makes great money. We have to wait another 6 years until Flynn's out of the house. But once Flynn's graduated, I don't know if we'll downsize or if we'll keep this. I don't know what, but we have the same plan. I want to get a camper, and I want to travel.
Yeah.
I've got Christopher's talking about moving to Tennessee. Who knows where Nevaeh will be? I've got friends and family all over the U.S., and we can literally live off her paycheck. I'll retire. We can go hang out and have a great rest of our life and just travel. Yeah, she works from home as it is. So, let me ask you. So we kind of got off topic, just kind of talking about our lives. But to anybody out there struggling, what do you feel like what's the key component to a happy, healthy marriage?
Well, I just shared a couple days ago on Facebook, the grass is green where you water it. And so if you want a good marriage, find friends that have a marriage that looks like one that looks like what you believe you want, and get to know them. Every person you're around should either show you what you want to be like or what you don't want to be like. As long as you remain teachable, it's only going to get better. And so I posted like multiple marriage podcasts and books that I listen to that just talk about and give you tools to having a better marriage, to remain teachable. I remember when COVID happened, there was a marriage Bible study, and we were signing up for it at church. And this one lady looked at me. She goes, "You and your husband don't need a marriage Bible study. You got the happiest marriage I know." And I said, "That's why. because we
Yeah.
continue to grow together. We continue to learn. We drive around listening to podcasts that talk about, stuff that one or the other is interested in. He will watch my chick flicks and I will watch his Westerns.
Yeah.
Every year for Mother's Day, we take the kids and they take me to an Avengers movie. That is not what I want, but that makes my family happy.
Yeah.
Like every May, a new Avengers or superhero comic book movie comes out, and so it's what can you do to make the other one happy, and then you will reap that. You will reap what you sow. If you sow kindness and goodness, you're going to get that back.
Yeah.
And so
I'm a, I like how you said finding people that you want your life to. You said something along those lines. Finding people that you want your life to look like. And
yeah,
there's a
well
lot of
you
people.
are.
There's a lot of people that talk about that, and I could tell you over the last like 6 months to a year, because I think I told you we're not drinking,
Uh-huh.
and like we've stopped, and I've quit smoking. I've quit using Zyn. Like I've literally quit. I'm my next one is caffeine. Like
Okay.
I really want to stop using caffeine. But that's as a truck driver, that might be
Yeah.
after I retire. That'll be my next big crutch that I tackle. Um, but I'm looking at I'm hanging out with people that are doing the same things. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's who I look for. And I gotta be honest, there's quite a few people who I was hanging out with that aren't, and I have distanced myself.
Yeah.
And if any of them see this, it's nothing personal. I just
Yeah.
one of the guys, one of my buddies asked me, like, what's the point? You know what I mean? Like, why? If you have fun doing the other things, and I'm like, well, as far as like the drinking goes, I'm at a point in my life where I'm 42 years old. I've lost not only my dad to liver cancer and pancreatic cancer, but my father-in-law died of pancreatic cancer, all because they drank. They drank too
Yeah.
much when they were young. And my father-in-law didn't even drink into his older age. He would come over and have like a beer with me, but he didn't drink, you know.
Okay.
Um, but it's for my health. It's because I don't want to die at 60, 65 years old like my
Yeah.
dad did.
Long
I want
life.
to I want to have some longevity to my life. So
Yeah.
it's surrounding yourself with people that you want to be like.
Well, and
Um,
they say that like if you want to advance in your job, like and I've got it in the book. The 5 people you hang around with are who you're going to
yeah.
become like. Are you wanting to be around the gossip girls, the nice nasty girls,
Yep.
the slutty girls, or are you possibly thinking about college, or are you possibly thinking about a career, are you possibly thinking about a sports? Like what is it that you enjoy? And I mean, that was always the key to success. They always told us in all the blended family parenting things, the key to being a good parent is find something that your child that you can help them cultivate a love for, a desire for, a gifting for. And those are the ones that you hear that stay out of trouble when they
Yeah.
have that to fall back on, that they love doing this or doing that, whatever. Well, I mean, that's the same thing with being around couples that have what you want, being around friends that, like you said, my friends are sober. I just realized it as I signed up for college. My new friends in this season are college degree owners. Like I have a friend who is a doctor. I have a friend who is
Yeah.
a licensed counselor. I have like my friends are a little more professional, but then also Christian and also, like coming at with that family friendly lifestyle because regardless that's what I'm looking for. It doesn't matter if my kids choose to drink or my son's on, medical marijuana. He's becoming a DO doctor because he's the holistic doctor. That every person gets to choose their own path. But for
Yeah.
me, I'm not going to be mastered by anything. I can't drink. My husband can drink a beer. I can't drink a beer.
Yeah.
I'm looking for more, and so I just know that that's not safe.
Well, I can go out and drink a beer. My wife, I'm not going to say she's never been in AA. She's never had any consequences of alcohol, but she wouldn't even mind me saying this. My wife probably shouldn't be drinking, at least in excess. Um,
Yeah.
but I mean, I've always been able to go out and have a beer, but there was an incident and there had been a little too much drinking. And the fallout from that was she didn't want to drink anymore. And
Yeah.
so I'm on board. You know what I mean? If
Absolutely.
you don't want to
Absolutely.
drink, then we won't drink. But it's helped our relationship a lot. But yeah, I don't know. I think going back to what we were talking about with the people you hang around. There's a quote, and it's if you're you've obviously heard it. Everybody's heard it. If you're the smartest
Yep.
person in the room, that's not the room you need to be in.
Yep.
Um, and that's just something that's sat with me like real heavily over um, the last few months and years. Is here at this point I'm playing catch up because I'm 42 years old. I want more for my marriage. I want more for my life. I want more for me, for my kids.
Yep.
And I had a late start. I mean, for all intents and purposes, I learned a lot in those years. I'm very thankful. People look at me crazy because I always tell them I'm like I'm super thankful that I went to prison and that I had that experience
My
and
husband too.
my drug addiction because it gave me a reality check. And to be honest with you, had I not gone to prison, I'd probably be dead right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fentanyl was really just hitting the streets when I went to prison and stopped using drugs. And I know how I partied. I would probably be dead right now.
Yeah.
So I'm very thankful for the experience. I'm very thankful for everything that's happened. But I also, like I said, I'm playing catch up. So it's hard, but it's definitely doable.
But
So
it's nice when you see people thriving and you realize there is victory on the other side.
oh
Like
yeah, and
when my kids came with me, so we scored a sweet condo in Destin. We own a
it's
timeshare. And so we had a fat week in Destin. And as I was getting ready to go down there, I got a call from RCI, which is where we exchange our time, and they offered a 5 day, 4 night in Mexico. And Tony and I still have our passports. We've got like 3 more years on them, and they offered it for $250 all inclusive. And I was like, we don't drink,
oh wow,
And they're like, well, I mean, but the meals alone are worth it. And you can have non-alcoholic and you have to listen to a timeshare. Like and
I did that.
so I told him, I was like, well, I mean, we're staying in Destin next week. And I've got another week that I just booked, with you guys in Iowa. We're going to do Lake Okoboji with my dad. And the guy was like, okay, I'll take it from 249 to 199. All you have to do is fly there. And so I'm messaging Tony and I'm like, hey, do you want a 5 day vacation with me in Mexico for $200? And he was absolutely, I want to. And so people laugh at how spoiled I am, but I realize that I serve my husband and he serves me, and then God opens the door for an all inclusive. I mean, come on, $200 for two
Right.
people for
Yeah.
5 days. That's $20 a day for your meals and your hotel. And when I
No,
looked at these
we had to
condos,
pay for our Mexico trip, and I still went and listened to like we paid full price. Which Mexico, it's not expensive to go to Mexico. Like if you're
no,
looking for a week trip for like all your
yeah,
food and drinks, whatever, it's not expensive to go to
yeah,
Mexico. But I remembered I wanted to go to Tulum, which is like a jungle gym. It's like a
okay,
weightlifting gym out of bamboo and like rocks on the beach. And I wanted to go to the Tulum gym while we were down there. Well, it was 2 hours away in Tulum. We were in Playa del Carmen. So the timeshare guy approaches us as we're walking in. And so I didn't want to rent a car. And I really didn't want to go off the resort because there was like state warnings and everything.
yeah,
And so the guy approaches us and he's like, listen, he was like, is there anything I can get you like excursions that we could pay for to get you to come to this timeshare thing? And I was like, listen, dude, I said, you give me a 4x4 truck that I can take to Tulum for a day. I said, I'll come listen to your timeshare. So he did it. And we went on the 4th of July down to Tulum, had the best time ever. It was great. But all I got out of it was a truck. But go ahead. I
yeah.
interrupted you. I'm sorry.
No, you're okay. But so I was just saying how, like, it's this selfless love. Like, I just spent the week in Destin. He couldn't come. He had to work, and our kids came and they were like, oh, sad dad wasn't there, but grateful that dad provides. And I mean, like, I 27 years, I would have never thought that we would have had all of these ups, downs, ins, outs, and everything. But we have tried it every which way. We've tried it sober. We've tried it drunk. We've tried it, I mean, we've just tried
Yeah.
it. And honestly, it's like I said, I mean, these past few years have been the best, and I know that the best is yet to come. He too
Yeah.
had a late start. He went to prison at 40. And so here he is, now been out of prison 19 years, and look at what God's done. I mean, it has just
I
been
think what you're,
amazing.
I think ultimately you guys are at a point where you understand each other.
Yeah.
And you brought out the Love Dare book earlier. And I also remember it was what, the five love languages was the other one,
Yeah.
or was one of the other ones. And that book always stuck with me because with my wife, I remember I read it with my ex-wife. But it was one of those, she's an ex for a reason. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
But I always, every relationship that I was in after my ex-wife, I looked at the five love languages and I was like, I'm trying to dissect it. I would have those conversations and my wife really took to it. You know, she had read
Yeah.
it in her past marriage too. And it's to anybody that hasn't read it, that's in a marriage that's suffering, not suffering, thriving. I would
Absolutely.
highly, 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 if you had not read it, read the five love languages.
Yes.
Because all it'll do is it'll put your marriage on
Help
another
you.
level. But
It'll
yeah,
help you. And
but
I
like you were saying, you're very like attentive to your husband, and that's acts of service. You know what I mean? And that's how
Mhm.
my wife is. My wife, as long as I come home and I know like she needs help around the house, if I'm sweeping the floors, if I'm cleaning the bathroom, if I'm doing
Yeah.
the yard work, stuff like that, she's content. Now I'm a little funny. I'm like physical touch with a little bit of like gifts. My main one is touch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, she goes out of her way to make, she's always rubbing the back of my head. We're driving, she
Yeah.
reaches over and grabs my hand. Like we understand each other, you know? And then
Yeah.
you top that with you put the topper on top of all that with communication, where if I come home and I'm home for 2 days, I'm like, hey, like I can't tell you how many times I've been out on the road and been feeling some sort of way coming home. I let the wheels turn, you know? And I think up
Yes.
scenarios that aren't going on, and I don't have
Yep.
anybody to talk me out of those scenarios.
Yep.
And the rabbit hole just
The
goes deeper
negative
and deeper and
voices.
deeper. And the
Yep.
voices are telling me my wife doesn't love me, and she didn't hold my hand when we were in the truck driving to dinner last weekend. Like
Yep.
there's something going on. She went to the gym and didn't wear her wedding ring. Like there's something
Yep.
going on. No, fact of the matter is she just didn't want to wear it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so I can call her on a Thursday when I'm on my way home, openly tell her, hey, I'm feeling some sort of way about this. Like, I need extra attention from you this weekend. And I
Yeah.
get it. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Yep.
She's great about that. So that's
Absolutely.
anybody that hasn't read that book, I highly recommend it. It is
So
a game changer.
when you're talking about it, so my husband's is touch as well. And I remember one time in New Orleans 10 years ago, he went to hug me. And as I was pulling away, he was like, can you not just give me 10 seconds?
Oh, I've
Like,
said that to her before.
and,
Yeah.
and I just need 10 seconds. And so, and we hold hands every car ride. All the kids have seen it. They've seen him open my door. My kids have taken pictures of him pumping my gas. Like we have always served each other pretty well. The newest one, which is lately for me, is, and he wants me to get the graph of the foot, but I've been rubbing his feet lately, which I mean is just a simple way because again,
Yeah.
I don't have to work. I don't work. I sit at home all day. He
Yeah.
lets me travel to see my grandkids. I'm working on a book. But I mean, what is 5 minutes of rubbing someone's feet after they work 12 hours? You know what I mean? And so, and I just think like a lot of people think, oh, you're so submissive, yuck. But but you're jealous of the life that God blesses me with. Like,
Right. You're not willing to rub feet, and that's why you have the marriage that you have. So
yeah, I mean, truthfully,
I'll tell you, my wife is very good. If I ask her for anything touch related, she's generally on the ball about it.
yeah,
Rubbing feet, rubbing my back. But you were talking a minute ago, and I want to go back a little bit to your kids watching everything you do. So my son goes to Shawnee State. He's got a full ride playing basketball. I always brag
okay,
about it because I love that kid. He's doing awesome things.
that's great.
Um, he met a girl down there. She's from Tennessee. He's actually down there. We took him to the airport last night. He's down there meeting her entire family this weekend.
Oh, okay,
They're both basketball players. She's super cute. Like we love Jada. And she came up a couple weeks ago. It was the first time we ever got to go out with them. So we're sitting and we're out to dinner and we're having conversation. And she starts, I think I asked her, I said, so why do you like, I said, what's so special about Christopher? And I asked both of them, like I was doing
Yeah.
it back and forth with them, and she goes, she starts glowing and grinning from ear to ear. She says, that boy, she was like, she's got her little like Southern accent and everything. She's super cute. And she's like, that boy, she was like, he opened my door the first date we went on. He opens my door every time, everywhere we
Yeah.
go, he opens my door.
Yeah.
He holds my hand, he pumps my gas. And so I look at my son and I'm like, oh, where'd you get that from? Because I know that's stuff that I do
Yeah.
regularly, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking he's going to give me credit for it. He's like, I just do it. And I'm like,
Oh,
you little. So
we
we
were,
laughed about it. And
we were,
Mary immediately, she's like petting my head. She's like, it's okay, big. They call me Big Woogie. She's like, it's okay, Big Woogie, chill out. I'm like, you little. But it was
we were,
funny. And
we were in Kentucky with the son that him and his wife that live in our house with their two daughters. And so at Christmas time, Brody, my other grandson who's 7, had said something about this one dog being, he's the protector of our dog, Mama Mays. His dog, Traveler, is protecting her because that's what the man does. And so I told Tony, I was like, ooh, you're going to have to dance with me in front of him so you can show our grandson what it means to be chivalrous. Well, we missed that turn. And so when we were in Kentucky with the 2 granddaughters, they're 6 and 3, we put on this From This Moment song and we danced. And then Hazel goes, stop, stop. I need to marry you two. You two need to be married again. And so my 6-year-old granddaughter, she got the ring. She did the
oh,
ceremony.
that's cute.
Like, and was doing all this stuff about how romantic her pawpaw and her grandma and all that stuff. And so like for me, that legacy, that love is real, that you're, that you can experience it, that you deserve to be treated well, all the different things. And so for me, like, and honestly, I knew that we were going to talk sometime soon about this, but I'm pretty sure that'll be my third book. My third book will be one on marriage, just because it's just so important. It's
It
so
should be. I mean,
important.
I think you have a lot of good points. You have a lot of great point of views as far as, and you've obviously been through the ringer. I think it should be.
Yeah. I'm excited about it. I'm excited. The teen book will come this year. And I mean,
Well,
I'm
I
over.
do. You do have to let me know when it
I
releases
will.
because I will be buying a copy for my daughter. I'm
Yeah.
gonna read it, but I
Yeah.
will definitely be buying a copy for my daughter.
I'm
Um,
so excited about it. And then to be working with Trilogy has been really nice. And so they'll do commercials on TBN, which is mostly watched by older people, because I do feel like a lot of grandparents and parents will buy it to read it
yeah,
and then to give to their, because I mean, not a lot of kids aren't like, oh, I'm hurting, I need help, what do I need? Like, it's proven that our teenagers know that these phones are brain rot, that
yeah.
like that's their number one used word last year, is brain rot, just
Yeah.
watching, scrolling. They hate it. They just
There
don't
was
know what to
a
do.
there was a new study that was just put out by it was some university yesterday on Chat GPT, and it literally said the people that are using Chat GPT are experience its cognitive decline faster than any other class, including like drug addicts, I believe, and like other people, because
Yeah.
what it's doing is they're taking literally every thought and throwing it into the computer. So what they said they tested is people are coming out and they're literally losing their thoughts mid sentence. Like kids are losing their thoughts mid sentence, like losing their
Man.
train of thought, losing their answers, like not even being cognitive of what they're like talking about.
Yeah.
Um, sorry, I just had to throw that in there real quick, but it was a
No.
very scary study. Um,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah, and I don't know what the answer is to that. I've had this conversation on a couple other podcasts with some of my buddies. About what's the answer to the whole cell phone issue, and honestly there isn't one, because we're at a point in society where technology is moving full speed ahead.
Yeah.
I can see in the next 10 years there's already you have Neuralink, people are already being integrated with computers and
Yeah.
AI. Then you're going to put AI on top of that, you're going to have robots that are assistants and everything else.
Yeah.
Like, it's coming.
Yeah.
But what do you do to stop it? Nothing. You can't.
Yeah.
So what do you do
How do you
to
prepare
and
better?
what do you do to fix some of the issues? And that's another big problem with big tech, is none of these companies, it's all about capitalism and making money. None of these
Yeah.
companies want to take a step back and be like, hey, whoa, like we're doing a little too much here. Let's curb it a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's like putting more legislation on big tech companies or more restrictions. I don't
Well,
know.
well, even just in the past month, was it Australia that changed the age limit and is doing more verification and
Oh, for
process
social media, yeah,
social media? And granted, people are going to slip through, but I mean, let's pull back the reins.
yeah,
Like it's not too late. We still can do that, and then just think about the fact that that is protecting your birth
yeah,
to 8 year olds that haven't been handed a phone yet. And I'm super grateful. My three daughter-in-laws, the three youngest boys, they are all, no cell phones, no iPads, limited video games. We're playing outside. They don't do TVs till afternoon. Like they are very like and it's good. It's good.
yeah.
It's intentional parenting to allow your children to grow in all aspects instead of just it, it
Yeah, and I want to
hi-fi at
reiterate
home.
too. I want to reiterate to anybody that's listening, it's never too late to start parenting your kids because again, I was I was 30 years old. I got full
Yeah.
when I came home, I got full custody of my kids. So I was late to the game, you know?
How old were
And
your kids?
oh man, when I came home, my daughter I think was 6 and my son was 9 or 10.
Okay.
And then
Which
I have a 6 year or I've got a 12-year-old stepson now.
so
Um,
I mine were 10, 9, and 5, and I just say that because like it changes the total trajectory. It doesn't matter
yeah,
if they're a teenager. Like
no,
you are the authority in your home. You get to change it.
and my whole point in bringing that up was, my kids are great kids. Like, and I'm not saying that because I'm their parent. Like other people comment on how great my daughter's
Yes.
always yes sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am, yes sir. She opens doors for people. Please, thank you. My eldest son, my older son, he's started I think 3 businesses at this point. He's very
Yep.
polite, they're good kids. And
Yes.
I was late to the game. That's the point that I want to make and emphasize to people is I was late to the game on parenting my kids.
Yes.
Now they were still very impressionable at the age that I came home at, but you figure I was still 7 to 10 years late to the game. And those are
Yes.
very developmental years. So there's never really you're never too late. It only matters if you don't ever try. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean?
Yeah.
So I just want to encourage anybody that feels like, they're already on a wrong path. And I will tell you, in these last years of me having full custody of my kids, there have been hammer drops. It's been ugly at times. It's been
Yeah.
things that my kids haven't wanted, especially when my wife came in the picture. My wife is very um, what my wife. We're just going to say what M says. What M says goes.
Yeah.
Um, and we're okay with that. Like but things have not always been easy. There have been tears, there have been struggles, but me being late to the game at this point, I literally, it's weird. You always, and it pisses me off because you always hear the guys say, when you're truly rich, you're rich in family and friends and relationships. You're not actually like monetarily
Yeah.
rich. And then you have the guys that are like, well, only poor people say that. Well, I got to be honest. Like, my wife and I, we make quite a bit of money, and we don't even balk at it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? We we get the most fulfillment, joy, and satisfaction out of hanging out with our kids
Family events.
because we have
Yeah.
such a good time when we're with them. We have
Yeah.
such a like I spent Father's Day with my kids last weekend and I literally rode a high all week because of, we went and painted pottery, we went to
Yeah.
dinner, we went and had ice cream. And it was fun, it was wholehearted, it was with my kids.
Yeah.
They're not assholes, you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
we curbed that a long time ago.
Yeah.
So um yeah, it's never too late to invest in your kids. Never.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, is there anything else you want to talk about? We're pushing up on
No,
2 hours. I
I
am gonna have to
know.
cut here soon. No, I made sure this time that I had a couple hours for you
Yeah.
because I'll be honest, the last time I had you on, I really didn't want to stop the podcast, but I think one of us had stuff going on. I called
Yeah.
about an hour.
Yeah. No, it was great.
Um, but I do want to thank you for coming back on.
Yeah.
If there's ever, when the book comes out or when you do your next book, let me know.
Yes.
I'll
Absolutely.
always make time for you to come back on and hang out and talk.
Yeah.
Like
It
I
was
said,
great.
you are very easy to talk to, and I said it earlier. I think you and our life trajectories are kind of similar,
Similar.
or are actually
Absolutely.
very similar. So I
Yeah.
think I can relate to you on a lot of levels, and I think a lot of people can relate to you on a lot of levels because a lot of people struggle on a day-to-day
Yeah.
basis, and that's why we started this. So, all right, if you don't have anything else, we'll wrap it, guys.
That's it.
Again, thanks for tuning in, checking us out. Again, like, subscribe to help push us up in the rankings, get the message out there. Anybody that wants to follow Nikole, did I lose you?
No.
Where'd you go?
Oh, did it? Am I there?
Give everybody your social medias, your
Um,
Facebook or whatever else you're on. So
it's Nikole Bittler Thompson. So Nikole is Nikole. Bittler is my maiden name, Bittler Thompson, Thompson. I don't know all the other. I mean, they're on there. They're linked on my Facebook, so you just have to come find me on Facebook. I am on YouTube. Like I'm looking here in my office, and I don't have anything written down anywhere. Um,
you said it was two T's, right?
Bittler. Yep. And then my husband and I, our website is Prisoner to Preacher. And that's with the number 2 sign in the middle .org. And so that has contact information as well. Prisoner to Preacher. And so the book,
RG.
my first book, 50 Shades of Truth, is available on Amazon, and then the new book will be the same. It'll be available on Amazon, and I've slowly been posting about it. My hope is to have it done within the next 90 days. We just got a lot going on.
So. Awesome. Well, again, I thank you for giving me 2 hours of your time. This was really cool.
No, thanks for having me.
All right, we'll talk soon.
Bye.
That was good. That was really good.